Hey gamers, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Gavin Steals Recipes from the Internet. Today our recipe was stolen from tasteofhome.com. The recipe is for hot cross buns. I stole this recipe in particular because if you look at the calendar, it says that today is Easter, and people eat hot cross buns during Easter. Before we can start to make our delicious buns, we first have to wash our hands to get rid of all the cooties. Now, washing your hands is not optional in this episode because sharing is mandatory. This is mainly because I don't know anyone who can eat 30 dinner rolls at once. But if you can, that's really impressive, and I'm also kind of scared of you. But now that your hands are washed, don't preheat your oven. Yeah, that's right, you heard me, don't preheat it. That's because you have to wait for bread to rise later on, so you'll want to preheat the oven then. Now, take a deep breath, as you have to prepare yourself mentally and physically to take on the task that is baking bread. To make the best bread, you're going to want to dissolve 1/2 ounce of yeast into a small bowl using 2 cups of warm milk. To preserve the life of the yeast, you're going to want the milk to be roughly 110 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Or if you're feeling risky, you can just throw the milk in the microwave and hope it's the right temperature. Once you have dissolved your yeast, you're going to want to get a large bowl. I found this large bowl in one of those Easter eggs left around my house. Once you have obtained your bowl, add in 2 room temperature eggs, 1/3 cup of softened butter, 1/4 cup of sugar, which if you don't have, just go outside and... One and 1/2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground allspice, 3 cups of flour, and your milky yeast sauce. Once all of the ingredients are in the bowl, you're going to want to beat it on medium speed using a stand mixer, hand mixer, or that one drill from a few episodes back. Once it's mixed well, stir in 1/2 cup of dried currants, 1/2 cup of raisins, and 3 2/4 cups of flour, or until the dough is soft and sticky. When you're finished with this step, you will have completed making the bread dough, but we are still very far from being done. Even the recipe I'm stealing this from says we're only on step 1. You're gonna need the dough to be absolutely traumatized. Show the dough no mercy when you put it on a floured surface and knead it for 6 to 8 minutes, or until the dough is smooth and elastic. Once the dough has been thoroughly harassed, put it in a lightly greased bowl and flip the dough over to make sure the dough is greased on top. Now you can finally give the dough a break and let it rest covered in a warm place for an hour or until it's doubled in size. It needs the break because it still has much more harassment to endure. Now that the dough has had time to rest, it thinks that its suffering is over, but the dough is very far from the truth. Start by punching the dough down before turning it onto a lightly floured surface. After beating up the dough and getting all of their lunch money, you'll want to divide the dough into 30 evenly sized balls. Put the balls onto a greased baking sheet roughly 2 inches away from each other, and then cover them to let the dough rise for another 30 to 45 minutes. Now that the dough is rested once again, it is time to continue the torture of the dough. Grab a knife and start to make X's on top of every single dough ball to make sure that other pirates know that treasure is buried nearby. I found my treasure in that Easter egg from earlier. It was a large bowl. Once the pirates have been informed, make an egg wash using 2 tablespoons of water and 1 egg yolk. Brush the egg mixture over the buns. Once all the bones are fully egged up, bake them alive in an oven preheated to 370 degrees Fahrenheit. While the buns are baking, you need to take a moment to think about your actions. What have you done to these buns? Was it worth putting them through this just so you could have fresh bread? Do you really need to do this when you can go buy fully organic, grass-fed bread at the grocery store? No, it's not. This is why I set up www.stopbreadabuse.com and... Oh wait! My bread's ready! My bread's ready! What were we talking about again? Who knows? Probably wasn't important. I heard the oven beeping and I had to go deal with that. Anyway, now that your bread is done baking, you can take it out of the oven and let the buns cool on some nice wire racks. This will comfort the bread after all the torture that the bread has had to endure. Then you can also make some icing to put on top of the bread using 1 1/2 cups of powdered sugar and 4 to 6 teaspoons of milk, depending on how thick you want the icing to be. Now that you have some delicious hot cross buns, you could like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw here today, or you could report us to the FBI depending on your moral standards. Personally, I am going to enjoy eating these splendid little buns.